Hi, I'm John, founder and CEO of Sendbird. Today, I want to answer a question that I get a lot from entrepreneurs and managers within organizations. They tend to ask questions like, "Hey, what is your leadership style? What is a really good way to motivate employees who are not as motivated or not as doing well within the organization as they would like?" And I learned this concept called situational leadership from a friend. And it's a really interesting framework. So, on one axis, you'd have capability, and the other axis would be motivation of the employee. So, like in all good two by two matrices in business management, obviously the people on the up and to the right, the people who are most motivated, most capable, and most motivated are your rock stars in your organization. To manage them is relatively easy because they're the people who tend to figure things out on their own. They're highly motivated, and again, they're capable, so they know what they're doing. So in that case, what you want to do is just lay out the foundation. Hey, this is our culture, this is our value system within the organization, this is our mission, and this is our high-level goal that we really want to achieve, and you're the right guy for it. So you just want to really delegate the work to them. Just again, really focusing on the high-level goal, and just let them figure out the rest, like how to do it, what's the right way to do it, what's the right tool, who to work with. People in this quadrant are autonomous, and so they tend to figure things out. So you want to get out of their way. And the other sort of like a two tricky situations are people who are highly capable, but as not as motivated as you would like them to be. In this case, they might you really want to understand the circumstance or situation they're in. They might be going through a tough time with their family, or may not have enough resources in the organization, or they might just not be getting enough feedback, whether their work is undervalued or they feel like they're not being really appreciated within the organization. So in this case, your leadership approach should be more supportive. You want to really have a positive feedback session with the employee, really let them understand what they're doing, how that fits into the big picture of the organization, and really try to be supportive, and figure out what's going on in their personal lives or whatnot, and try to really be emotionally supportive to get them sort of like back on track in terms of their level of motivation. On the other part of the quadrant would be your employees who are highly motivated, but not as skilled or capable. So you can think of them as like someone who just graduated college. It is their first job. They're excited. They're pumped up, and they're just running into organization. Running into different people. Stepping on other people's toes, and they're creating chaos within the organization. So these are kind of people you really want to be coaching and mentoring. So you want to set them a clear boundaries and really create I guess, a plan to set them up for success. But they have the sheer will and energy to go through the process really well. So it's more about coaching, doing regular sync ups, really training them up to actually do the work they need to do. So that part is coaching becomes really important. I guess the last quadrant would be your employees who are not as motivated and not as skilled. So these are people who you really need to be more directive, or giving very specific orders. Because they're not as motivated, it is somewhat high maintenance. You really have to check in on them regularly. You have to give them a very specific set of plans, how to guides to really make them progress through the work or whatever task they need to do, and let them I guess go through the enough experience of small wins within the organization to really get them back on track in terms of their level of motivation. And also, by giving them very specific guides and going through the process, they can train themselves to become more capable within that task. But of course, these are not always successful. And in that case, you want to be really observing carefully and listen to where they're coming from. It's really important because sometimes these are, could be rock stars in other circumstances. They're just doing something completely not aligned with their strength. and something that they're not genuinely not interested in. And in that case, you might want to really move that person around in the organization to fit, or find a job for them that they feel motivated or they're capable of doing. You try to figure that out within the organization. But sometimes, that role might exist outside of your team or outside of your company. So in that case, you also want to mentor them, try to understand from their perspective, what is a way for them to really maximize their or capitalize on their strength. So again, to sum things up, you want to really use this framework of 2x2 matrix of capability and motivation, and try to adjust your approach based on the profile of your employee you're trying to lead. So I found this situational matrix to be really helpful in understanding my approach towards employees, and it's a pretty effective way of maximizing on their strength to, again, align everyone's sort of strength to capitalize towards company's growth. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. And so yeah, that's it for today's Q&A.